as you start exploring like how to paint, like some areas are going to have, you know, very, very brilliant dark colors. Others are going to have more faded colors. So that's kind of the purpose of that. This next one's called a flat wash. So sometimes you want to have a color that remains the same throughout, okay? So I'm drawing kind of a larger square on this one, okay? So for this, I want the whole square to be the same tone of blue, okay? I'm gonna grab my blue, and it's kind of gonna work back and forth. So I'm starting here, like going out to the edge and coming back through. And each time I'm going through, I'm kind of overlapping the space that came before it. A lot of times we use flat washes for like skies. So you're kind of filling in the space evenly. Sometimes the sky starts out darker, becomes lighter. You try to eliminate any kind of like faded areas or brush strokes that you see. So you have to come back into your blue. I just want to start from the top here again. Kind of wind your way down the square. The last step is just to grab some water. You want to try to eliminate any kind of like brush strokes you see. Next one we're looking at is called dry brush. So we just draw another square, that's fine for this one. So dry brush, it's great for like trees and things like that. So you need to get the brush pretty much dry so your paper towel comes in handy. You sort of dry your brush off a little bit. So on dry brush, when you paint, it should retain the marks of your brush as you're hitting the surface of the paper. So let's just use green. And my brush is still too wet there. So try it again. As you push, you should see it's kind of scratchy looking. And I can add another color into there. I can add yellow. Once again, changing colors, rinsing it out, dry my brush off. So the next thing I'm talking about is our neutral colors. You guys had a couple of assignments, your color scheme scavenger hunt. We had that color theory online article. So complementary colors basically are across the other color wheel. So we have like orange is across from blue. We have red across from green. We have yellow across from violet. So the thing we're doing now is basically just kind of seeing how those things can react to each other. Just going to draw two rectangles next to each other, vertical ones. So in your paint set, as you open it up, you have these sections here, and these actually can be used as palettes. You can sort of mix paint into. The important thing is just to come back through and wipe it out or clean it out after you're done, okay? So the two complementary colors we're using is orange and blue. So say for instance you have an orange. You need to paint a shadow of the orange. And the shadow of the orange, or the value, wouldn't be black or gray. It would just be a darker version of orange. And that's what mixing these colors do. It creates a darker version of that color, okay? So we're going to start out with just orange. So what we're doing is we're grabbing some orange. We're going to sort of create a little pile of orange on our paint set here. You kind of guys got to scrub it, let some color out, and placing it on here. It takes a minute to do. You don't need a ton of it, but just enough you're going to be able to fill that space. Okay, so for me that's all I really need. Okay, so for this first part, I'm going to grab some orange that I just put off to my side here, and I'm going to just do one strip of orange. And these don't merge together, we're kind of doing them as separate, what's called a neutral value scale. So one strip of orange, we actually leave a space in between each of these colors. And I'm going to be grabbing a tiny little bit of blue, like a little pinprick of blue, and mixing it into the orange. I did not get enough, so I'm going to go back. Just making sure you're mixing up the whole pile. So your next one is going to be called burnt orange. So you're going to go in leaving a little space there. So for the rest of this, you're pretty much repeating the same process. You're just adding a little more blue to the mixture, just to get the next step down in the value scale. So let's try that. It's getting a little darker at this point. And what happens eventually, it gets into more of a bluish gray and then turns back to blue. So just, work along. Just keep grabbing tiny amounts of blue. We have to extend past the rectangle that you drew. Just turn it back into blue. This will be my last one, I think. Okay, so pretty much we have orange mixing with blue coming down. So we have a darker version of orange turning to some nice grays here and some blues. Okay, we're going to do the exact opposite. So we're going to do blue into orange. So once again, grab some blue and I'm going to put it over here. Use it as a mixing palette. Grab some orange. I'm sorry, actually I needed to just do plain blue first. Okay, and so we're gonna mix that orange into our blue. It should create a darker version of blue for us. And the first one got a little messed up because I still had orange on my brush. It should be regular blue, just plain blue. Grab some more orange into the blue. we get our, starting to get some grays. We need a little bit of water in your brush if it starts to be too dry. You should also notice like what's called earth tones. So a lot of nice rich browns, a lot of sort of grays in betweens. And starting to come back to my orange. As the orange becomes more dominant in my palette, so more of a burnt orange. As I keep adding more orange, it's going to be pretty much back to our straight orange here. Okay, last thing we're gonna do is work back into our glazes. We first started, we painted these three things, orange, yellow, and blue, with intention of letting those dry, coming back into them. So we're going to be adding colors on top. So we'll start with our blue. We're gonna grab some green and place that on top, just on a little strip down here. So the paint kind of sits on top of it, so it creates a different sort of mixing. Okay, on top, I'm going to do yellow. So once again, the paint isn't reacting with wet paint, so it's going to create a different kind of mixing because this is transparent. So we should see sort of green happening here on top. In the middle, we're just going to do a strip of red. Which, as we know from our last lesson, makes purple. Okay. So for our yellow, let's do blue on the bottom and red on top. Okay, and last one we're going to be doing is that orange. We're going to add red on top. Then on the bottom we're going to use blue, kind of getting back to the same idea as these neutrals. So that's it for this lesson. The next lesson we're getting into the idea of color schemes, and that'll be next time I see you. Thanks.